Welcome everyone. This is our discussion number 278. When I started, I never thought will be here, but here we are. And thank you to who come in every Saturday and spend, a couple of hours, or actually more than that time to talk about investing. So today, two main topics that I want to cover. I would say rather three. One is what's the bond market, signals that the bond market gave us and why those signals were there. Then I'll go through a report from ARK Invest, Cathay Woods firm, and every year they will basically have a document of big ideas 2024, 2022, 2023, now 2025. So I do it every year. And again, I don't want you to follow exactly what Cathy Wood says, but I just want to see what they're thinking about, right? The third big one is Google had their annual conference, Google I/O, and there were some great updates from Google, and that also got reflected in the stock price. I want to talk about that, and then look at what's happening in the crypto, etc. So, but I cannot do anything without this customary disclaimer that anything that we discuss here is only for education, not a financial advice, not an investment advice or a tax advice. I mean, that would be the worst thing is taking a financial advice from a techie person, right? So, yeah, I spent a lot of all my life in the tech industry. I'm just any DIY investor, right? So don't take advice from me. But we are here to learn from each other. So let's get going. Key economic data, tariffs. I don't know. It's on or off. I thought everything was kind of had about to settle down. We had discussion with the China, UK, gave a hint, and then suddenly maybe he got off from the wrong side of the bed. And POTUS tweeted around 25% tariff on Apple on the iPhones that are not made in US, and similar with the Samsung. And I think POTUS is angry that Tim Cook is not making phones in US. I don't know if they eventually want to make phone in US, how many of us will be willing to buy those phones, right? There's not gonna, forget about $1,000 phones. We should be looking at least $2,000 phones if we want to make that in US, right?
Vivek,
So yeah.
I was having a discussion actually right before you started with some guy, but if iPhone goes up 25%, that wouldn't really be a. I mean, these are near luxury items.
Yeah, so this is like a luxury which has become a necessity. People are ready to trade their kidneys for iPhones. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but there is a crazy people, right? Again, I think this more hyperbolic, but we we cannot expect to have the same price of iPhone if we want to manufacture in US, not immediately. Restructuring the whole supply chain, we don't even have people who can work at the wages that which people now in India, earlier in China, I mean, are willing to work on it. And so I think, and I also read an analysis saying if Apple has to move and rejig the whole supply chain to make phones in US, that's gonna be at least 25% to 50% more expensive. They would rather just pay a tariff and live with that. There is no benefit in moving here. But you don't know after 4 years which is the next administration that will come on and what policies they might change. So again, we don't know whether it's 25% is going to be there or not, but looks like whenever the markets become calm, POTUS doesn't like it. And then we also talked about 50% tariff on EU because EU is not coming on a negotiating table, right? So we'll see. So market did react little bit of a negatively. I wouldn't say a lot because I think market is just seeing through this BS of 25%, 50% uh, a few times and say, "Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Eventually, it's just a negotiating stuff, not gonna happen much." And what SPY was down less than 1%, I guess. I mean, it did when the futures were negative, but then when the market opened, yeah, percent, maybe 2%, not a big deal. Okay? But what spooked the market was not this tweet, but bond market. What happened in the bond market? We had a 20-year treasury bonds that were auctioned, and I think it was only $16 billion. It's not a huge, big auction, right? So treasury wanted to sell 20 billion bond for those. So if you're not familiar with how the US government finances its operations, is of course they raise taxes, they also sell bonds. And when they sell the bonds, the sometimes foreign governments, corporations, individuals like you and I, we can go and buy bonds from US government. Basically, we are lending our money to US government, and US government is paying us whatever the bonds stated coupon rate is, right? So US government went and say, hey, there's a 20-year bond, and market was like, that's okay. There's not too much of an interest. So if there's not too much of interest, what do you have to do if you have to sell the bonds? You have to jack up the interest rates. So you'll say, okay, oh, you're not interested in this coupon rate in which I wanted to sell it. Maybe I'll raise it, right? And that's what happened. There was not, I mean, very timid demand of a 20-year bond. And why? Because if you start to get concerned about will US government be able to pay the 4%, 4.5%, whatever the for 20-year? If you have any concerns about it, you would demand higher interest rate because in your mind the risk is higher. And why the risk is higher? Recently, we had Moody's also downgrade US credit rating. And also, what we are seeing in the bill that has been passed by House, which is Donald Trump calls in the big and the beautiful, but any financial literate person can go through the bill and understand it's going to add a lot more deficit to our already ballooning deficit, right? So it's not fiscally responsible. It's like someone who's maxing out a credit card is taking another credit line and saying, you know what, I'm going to pay you because now I got a new credit card. At some point of time, you start to think, how long can you continue to play this game? So we had a little bit of a, I would say that did cause some jitters in the market, saying if our credibility, if the bond market is telling us that whatever is happening in the house is not in long term, doesn't bode well for the long term, then yes, they will not be willing to buy the debt of US government at the same rate what was previously they were buying it, right? So that's where the yield went a little higher. If you look at a 10-year is now 4.5%. I mean, it has been there earlier sometime and then it went back down. 20 and 30-year is above 5%. So now all of our other debts like mortgage rates, your car loans, your personal loans, they basically are, um, I would say they follow to certain degree some of these rates. Like mortgage will follow 10-year treasury. Right? And they look at, okay, if 10-year is this, they'll add a few percent. And that's what the mortgage, your mortgage rates closely follow 10-year treasuries. Then your car loan rates, etc. I don't know which one they follow closely, maybe 1 year, etc. But eventually, whenever you see the yields in the bond markets change, the interest rates that you and I or the consumers have to pay also change accordingly. Right? So forget about mortgage rates coming down. If the 10-year continue to stay 4.5%, mortgage is not going to come down, 30-year not going to come down below 6 or 7%. So, and if that's the case, then, inflation will continue to stay high and Jerome Powell is not going to cut. Not only on the US side, this is even more interesting chart. This is a Japanese government 40-year bond, JGBs. I generally don't follow these. I only started to look at it because it came up on my Twitter feed because of what happened in the bond market this week. Is look at the JGBs. I mean, 2.5%, 3.5% doesn't seem to be much, but when it comes to the bond market, in which are trillions of dollars, are at stake, even 1 basis point, which is 1/100th of a percent, makes a huge difference, especially on the JGBs, which have been, earlier mostly around 0% interest rates. Now they're like up to 3.5%, 40% interest rates. So the yield spiked from 3.61 to 3.635, and the yield on even not just 40 years, but 20-year and 30-year also spiked. Now, this could also cause some concern or volatility in the other markets, right? Remember in 2024 August, we had, where did we go? This scare, 2024 August. Within a week, the market fell down almost 15% from 560 all the way down to 510, almost 10%, just in 3 trading days. If you go back and view the recordings of the session that we did after this fell, well, it was because the yen carry trade blew up. I'm not going to get into the details of the yen carry trade, but this was the first time when the interest rates on the Japanese, not the JGBs, but they are like equivalent of our Fed interest rates. So Bank of Japan raised their interest rates to almost 1% or something, right? So, and which was a huge, because prior to that, it was almost close to zero. So the carry trade blew up. I'm not saying that, first of all, I have no information. I don't think anyone knows for certainty how much of the carry trade is still in the system. When I say system, means across US or across the world. Right? But understand from this perspective, if the rates in the Japan are going high, what investors, and I say big institution money, which deals in billions of dollars, what they used to do is, because the Japanese rates were close to zero or very low, they used to borrow in Japanese yen and invest in US assets, US stock market. Hey, you're paying 20.25% or 0.5% to borrow in yen, and then you can invest in the market in US, in which you can get 4%. Pretty good deal, right? Is almost it. So this is kind of almost like no risk. Market will give you these deals. But now, if the interest rates on the Japanese bonds are like 3.5%, that trade completely unwinds itself. Why would I borrow 3.5% to invest in always risk-free, let's say 4.5%, then all, but I do have the currency risk, and I would rather, investors would now maybe willing to sell their US assets that they had bought through the borrowed money, and repatriate money back to Japan. And that was a blow up that happened in August 2024, generally called as the yen carry trade, which blew up. I'm not sure how much of the carry trade is still in the system, but if it is, we may see some I would say jitters or volatility in the market because of JGBs now at, I think, multi-year high. But we'll see when it comes. Hopefully, those institutions may already have liquidated those yen carry positions. If not, then they may want to do it now. But why it's happening, at least on the US side, why the bond rates yield going high? Because of the big and the beautiful bill that House had passed. So a quick look in terms of at a high level, what are the major elements of that, right? The biggest concern is, if I'm a prudent investor, come on. I thought this administration is all about austerity. We're going to cut government spending, drain the swamp. But looking at this bill, doesn't look like to be drain the swamp stuff. So this bill could add anywhere between 3.2 trillion to 4.6 trillion in our deficit for the next 10 years. Of course, there have been some cuts, but there also have been cuts in terms of the income that the government gets, which is like tax cuts, right? Those who are proponents saying if we don't pass the bill, and then those tax cuts that were enacted in 2017, those will lapse, and that will mean the tax burden on millions of families, they will have to pay more taxes, right? So we need to basically pass a bill to continue those tax cuts, right? One thing which I've seen in the government is there is no temporary measure. Anytime you do, oh, these tax cuts are temporary until we get through these stuff, and that temporary stuff become permanent. Now that has become permanent. So anyway, so the concern is that the proposed tax cuts are not sufficiently offset by the spending cuts. Doge, which started with a $2 trillion, lower down its target to $1 trillion. And now I think over 2 years, what they're saying, $160 billion maybe? Right? We don't know. What else? In this bill, there is some um, cuts proposed for Medicaid, or rather more stricter requirement for qualifying for Medicaid and also for SNAP bill. Right? There is also provision that states should shoulder a percent of the benefit cost and the administrative cost, and also you need to work for maybe up to age 64, etc., to get this food assistance. There is the distributional impact. The top earners, because the tax cuts will be continuing, the top earners probably will benefit more than the regular middle class family. There's a new tax on remittance, 5% excise tax on personal money transfer. If you're moving money out of a US to another country, you'll have to pay a 5% excise tax, right? Which is like crazy. Now, this is going to impact all those who are still remitting money to their families in a country outside of US. There's a lot of immigrant population in US who come here, work here, and then remit money back to their families. They all will be impacted. And maybe I think this is where this is like becoming another Western money, Western Union stuff. So there and then some gimmicky stuff that happening, which is basically we don't know how it's gonna get implemented, but it's like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay, interest on US made car loans will be tax exempt.
Vivek,
Implementing it's gonna be a little bit challenge. People will game the system, right? So we'll see, how where it goes. Let
Vivek,
me just finish this one, Sam.
okay,
Then
fine.
back to you. There has been a proposals to increase the cap on salt deduction from 10,000 to 40,000, right? So this is how it may offset by giving more money to through the tax deduction for the families. Another one, which I don't know, may not be good for us, is repealing or phasing out the clean energy tax credits, right? Which is credit for EVs plus credits for renewable energy production. Is it gonna set us back in terms of how much energy we're gonna get, or is it just to focus more on drill, baby drill, right? Hey, use fossil fuel more than renewable energy. I mean, I just don't like that we're putting impediments in terms of the companies that want to generate more energy, whether it's renewable or not. So some of those renewable projects will get impacted at a time when we need lots and lots of energy to run the power hungry AI data centers. So I don't know how does this make sense, right? But we'll see. Next is the impact on student loans. It probably might cut billions of dollars from student loan system, right? And then potential moratorium on state aid regulation. I think this is I'm behind this. We need a federal level regulation, otherwise it's too difficult and too cumbersome at a state to state wise, right? So I think the net impact is that it's gonna increase the deficit, and that's what getting market a little concerned around it, saying how long can US continue to play the game? And the bond market is giving us a signal. And if you here, some great investors, they'll tell you bond market is much wiser than the stock market. Bond market will tell you what may happen in the future. A stock market will just react to it. So keep an eye on bond market. I'm also trying to learn about the bond market and what is trying to tell us. Based on this, I think this even prior to that, it, uh, CBO, Congressional Budget Office, their projection is, extend these tax cuts, extend spending. Net, we're looking at in next 30 years, we'll be staring at 362% debt to GDP ratio, which is unsustainable. Right now, I think Japan is among the developed countries, Japan is the one which is the highest debt to GDP ratio. It's like 200, just I think a little above 250%. So this is not going to happen. And this is with the interest rate on debt at 3.8%. Currently, we are looking at least 4.5%, right? So that difference itself adds trillions of dollars on interest payment. So, you add the difference, this chart could be, way higher than what is currently being projected. So every year you have almost like a percent more that you have to pay in interest, and which then adds on to any future borrowing you do, etc. So net, I think we have to be fiscally responsible, which we thought this administration will do the right thing. At the end of a day, it looks like everyone is just creating more and more of and no one wants to take hard decisions. And easiest thing is to spend and gamble our future for the benefits of present. So I think that's a net bond market started to see through it and is not playing, by the games that the administration wants us to play. So it gave us some signal that this is what's happening. All right, sorry, there was a question, Sam. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Do you believe I think Trump is BSing about not taxing all these things. I think that was do you think it's gonna I don't think he's gonna do it.
We
Do
have
you
no idea. Again, right? This is given at least over the last 5 months, what I've seen, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's always a suspense until it actually gets signed into a law. So, will no tax on trips happen or not? Right now, it's in the House bill. It's gonna get voted, I think, after the Memorial Day recess. Then it'll go to the Senate. Before it goes to the Senate, I hope many of these points will get addressed and we will not add so much of a deficit. So there's still time to for before it becomes finalized, and it is sent to Donald Trump for signature. So I don't think whatever in the current shape or form the House bill, this is going to be the final one. There's an opportunity to change it when it goes to the Senate, and we'll find out what happens then. I mean, it's so easy. So let's say no tax on tips, right? If I'm pally with my boss and say, don't give me this bonus, right? Maybe I'll work at a restaurant for a month, come over here and give me $10,000 tip, right? It is a tip. I don't know. You can game these systems. I don't know. So we'll figure out what happens. I don't want to spend too much of energy on something which we don't know in what way, shape, or form it will be implemented. So that was on some signals, both from the Japanese market as well as the US market. What the bond market was trying to tell us is this is BS. We're not gonna, this is not fiscally responsive. The responsible thing to do it. You promised us something else. Now you're doing something different. So bond market puked, and of course, then the stock market sold off on these higher yields. And we'll see what happens on Tuesday. Monday market is closed. We'll figure out what happens on Tuesday. All right. Next is the Google I/O, but let me see before that any question. Ashwini, 5% was updated to 3.5%. Okay, cool. That's an see, we already relented from 5%. Now we move to 3.5%. So maybe we'll make another change. Who knows? All right, let's talk about Google I/O and what happened on that. Last week I shared one interview between David Friedberg and Satya, not what Sundar Pichai was it Satya Nadella? Oh, Sundar Pichai's interview. And he did give some hint around, some of the advancements that they're doing in AI. So we had an opportunity to go and this week, Google I/O 2025, we had an opportunity to go and see what is Google building, right? We don't have to spend too much time and ink on how badly the market was beating upon Google for last 2 years for not having any AI. First, never had any AI story. Then they had a false starts or misstarts. And then they had a branding problem, BARD, and all that stuff. We really don't know what Google was doing. I think after those hiccups, probably Google has now figured out what they really want to do it. And, market always overreacts. Then the market reacted, they're saying Google not going to survive. All the search revenue will be taken over by Perplexity and OpenAI. And Google has been one of the cheapest stock from a valuation perspective of all the Mag 7s, right? When it was trading 160s or 150s, it was one of the cheapest stock available. And if you go back and look into when I reviewed the quarterly results, come on, search result is still growing. Overall revenue was up, 16%? And there are a lot of other stuff, which is YouTube, Waymo, and so it's not a dead company yet. And I think market got a peak in terms of overall Google AI strategy and which market liked it. And after this, I think Google stock was up, 5%? Yeah, we saw you jump up on Google stock, and then it sold off because everything on a Friday, the rest of the market sold off. So what caused the market to be a little bit optimistic about Google's future suddenly? Let's dive into it. So what are things that Google shared with us? Number one, new chip, Ironwood 7th generation TPU, which is Tensor Processing Unit. This is the chip that designed by Google. Of course, they use TSMC to manufacture it. And specifically for all the workloads that Google is interested or they see more on their Google Cloud, right? So they introduced a newer version. Key advancements on AI, I think this is where the market was more interested in, is a lot of advancements that they have shown in terms of where they are in their AI overall roadmap. So new models on Gemini 2.5 Pro and Flash. Now they've experimented with deep think mode, right? Again, not gonna get into the details of everyone, maybe give you a brief overview. Gemini Live, I really like Gemini Live, right? So Gemini Live is basically you can talk to, just like you talk to Siri, you can talk to Gemini Live. I've not used its camera, but I've used the text as well as voice input. So like yesterday, late night, while I was finishing my evening walk, I was actually chatting with the Gemini Live, asking certain questions and getting into conversation with them. And then when I came back home, I actually fact checked it for some of the data that I was talking about some company, and those are factually correct. Remember, we used to have those whole LLM hallucinations, etc. And I remember a year ago when I tried to use ChatGPT, and the predecessor Gemini, I will get some of the numbers wrong. Let's say what are your the recent quarter number, right? Will be wrong. Or if I tell them, give me 10-year of annual revenue figure or free cash flow yield, I'll get some of the numbers wrong. I've not retested it yet, but based on what I was chatting with the Gemini Live yesterday, the numbers turned out to be right, the factually right. Right. So you can also, maybe I'll show this video. You can, oops. Come on, they'll show the ad. So you can also use your camera and point it to your surroundings and talk about the things that are being shown in the camera, right? Project Mariner. So which is basically agentic AI, right? You give it a task and you can go out and have a coffee, etc. And the Project Mariner, which is basically a name given to their agentic AI stuff, will actually do the stuff for you. They also had a new family of models fine-tuned for learning, which are they gonna integrate in Gemini 2.5, which is basically for AI for education and STEM reasoning, etc. Imagen 4, which is the text to image model, right? More lifelike image. I mean, we have seen from other LLMs also. So I'm not sure is that game changing, but Veo 3 was really turned out to be pretty nice, a game changing text to video editor. I mean, they had a Veo 2, Veo 1, but 3 is pretty nice. And now people are doing some insane videos using these Veo 3. So for example, right, uh, uh, this, there are some interviews. Let's say, and now what worries me, or rather scares me, is I don't know what we would have to believe if I see any video, because this
Welcome to a
is all AI
show.
generated.
Let's see some opinions. I mean, man, the acceleration is crazy. You look far, step on the pedal, and you are there.
I feel safe with him in an SUV, and it
Right? It seemed to be so real. It's all generated by using a text prompt using Veo 3. This is a little more interesting, right? A prof is doing a Gen Z slang, and for all the boomers.
Okay, so Riz is basically short for charisma,
got it.
and that's a verb as well.
Maybe a couple of decades later, I'll need this class, right? Look at this one.
AI that makes haters go crazy every time.
Oh, y'all gotta give him that. This is wild. It's over. We are cooked on that thread. You get me?
So this is interview that never happened. Committee,
So I went to
stand-up
the zoo the other
comedy.
day, and all they had was one dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
So again, there are many videos. People are having fun with this. It also worries me a bit because now you can't believe anything that you see because it might have been just AI generated video. Who knows? Few more innovations. AI mode in Google search. I think this is very important. But and right now when you go to the Google search, we go how we have been doing for almost 2 decades. Open up a browser, go to google.com, you see a text bar, type in, and then you see AI infused answers on the top, which is the AI overview. And below, those are sponsored links and the 10 blue links, right? The AI mode will be completely revamped version. It will be more like what you see in Perplexity, right? And eventually, I guess Google will move to the AI mode itself, and those 10 blue links may go away. I think they still have to figure out how to start monetizing the AI mode. So maybe they'll roll it out slowly and steadily. It's again also they had a more conversational and a comprehensive search experience on this AI mode. I'll maybe look at a project.
They are happier with their results and they search more often. For those who want an end-to-end AI search experience, we are introducing an all-new AI mode. It's a total reimagining of search with more advanced reasoning you can ask AI mode longer and more complex queries. In fact, users have been asking much longer queries, 2 to 3 times the length of traditional searches. And I'm excited to share that AI mode is coming to everyone in the US starting today.
Soon, AI mode will be able to make.
All right, so I'll have to try this AI mode. AI enhanced shopping. Right? So this whole virtual try on was, I would say, I don't think Google is the first one to do it. I thought Snapchat already does it, but I would say it was pretty good to see this virtual try on. And let's look at that clip for a moment. All right, let's.
The all-new Acura ADM with an available Bang & Olufsen premium sound system, crafted to match your energy.
Ah, jeez. All right, let it play on the side. So the next one was filmmaking tool, which is their tool called Flow. All right, let's look at this one.
It will help you virtually try on clothes.
We're taking the next big leap in multimodality by bringing Project Astra's live capabilities into AI mode. We call this Search Live. It's like hopping on a video call with Search.
We are introducing a new try-on feature that will help you virtually try on clothes. I really like this blue one. I click on this button to try it on. It asks me to upload a picture, which takes me to my camera roll. I have many pictures here. I'm going to pick one that is full length and a clear view of me. We built a custom image generation model specifically trained for fashion. Wow, and it's back.
So now you can look for, which cloth fit you or not, or how does it fit you.
And stretch and drape on people. And
All right, so that was exciting. Flow is for filmmaking tool. Google Beam. I've not heard of that before, prior to this Google I/O. Maybe this was a secret project, but this was more around giving more realistic conference. So it kind of a generate 3D like image on when you are, talking to someone. Real-time translation in Google Meet. Right? It's like, and maybe we should start using Google Meet instead of Zoom. But there's a real-time translation happening, and that reminded me of which company it may disrupt. Any idea which company it may disrupt?
Duolingo?
Bingo. So I was just thinking, if you can have this real-time translation, then only people who want to learn a language would be hardcore language fanatics, right? There's no need for me, to learn the language. I'm sure on a live, you're probably gonna get very soon these real-time translations. If I'm going to another country, if I can just survive by me speaking in English and hearing back in English, what's the need to learn a new language, right? So if you are investing in Duolingo, think about it. It may not happen today, tomorrow, but what ChatGPT did to Chegg, I'm not saying that it's gonna do to Duolingo, but the need to learn the language has reduced a lot. Right? So something to think about. Another exciting development was Android XR, extended reality, call it AR, VR, mixture of all those, and Gemini. So now, in collaboration with Samsung, they have called Project Muhan, which is like a VR headset, just like we had those Apple headsets. And then we have a Google Glasses coming up. So the demo of the Google Glass was interesting one. So let's look into that demo first, right? Was 1560.
Hey everyone. Right now, you should be seeing exactly what I'm seeing through the lens of my Android XR glasses. like my delicious coffee over here, and that text from Shram that just came in. Let's see what he said. All right, it's definitely showtime. So I'm going to launch Gemini and get us going.
So she's in the backstage, and her manager or colleague is on the front stage, and now she's demoing in terms of how the Google Glass works. So I guess Google Glasses are back.
Send Shram a text that I'm getting started and silence my notifications, please.
Okay, I've sent that message to him and muted all your notifications.
Perfect.
Oh, hey, Nishta.
Hey, Dieter.
I see the lights on your glasses, so I think it's safe to say that we're live right now.
Yes, we're officially on with the IO crew.
Hey, everybody. It is pretty great to see IO from this angle. Nishta, you promised me I could get my own pair of Android XR glasses if I helped out back here. So what do you say?
Of course. Let's get coffee after this and I'll bring you those glasses.
Awesome. We'll see you then. Good luck.
Thank you. As you all can see, there's a ton going on backstage. And is that pro basketball player Giannis wearing our glasses?
I love it. It feels like both of my hands for double high fives.
Nice. Let me keep showing you guys what these glasses can do. I've been curious about this photo wall all day. Like, what band is this and how are they connected to this place?
Rock. And yeah, shows at Shoreline Amphitheater, which are often seen as homecoming shows for the band.
So basically,
Gemini, what was the name of the coffee shop on the cup I had earlier?
That might have been Bloomsgiving. From what I can tell, it's a vibrant coffee shop on Castro Street.
Great memory.
so not only it tells you right now, it also remembered that she was drinking the coffee. It's just got a memory through which it can go back and recall and tell you, basically answer your questions based on that. And then, a little later,
Can you show me the photos of that cafe? I want to check out the vibes.
Definitely. Do these photos from Maps help?
Oh, I know that spot. It's a flower shop as well as a coffee shop, but it is downtown.
Okay. Gemini, show me what it would take to walk here.
Right. And then later on, both of these people engaged in conversation in which Sharam, he was talking in Farsi and Nishta was talking in Hindi, and they were able to have that conversation. Of course, demo never goes the way everyone thinks it would. So we are taking a big risk of doing it live. And I think later on it did not work as they expected it to, but it was a good start. So maybe Google Glasses will be back. Who knows? And of course, there were other developer and creator tools that they had shown. What I found a lot more interesting was this Project Astra, right? So Project Astra, I think it was done a little before. So in which it's like a companion sitting beside you in which you're talking and helping you out, right? So
I think I stripped the screw. Can you go on YouTube and find a video for how to fix that?
Of course. I'm opening YouTube now. This looks like a good video.
It seems like I need a spare tension screw. Can you call the nearest bike shop and see what they have in stock?
Yep. Calling them now. I'll get back to you with what they have in stock.
Hey, any updates on that call?
Yep. I just got off of the bike shop. They confirmed they have your tension screw in stock.
We built AlphaProof that can solve mass Olympiad problems at the silver medal level.
So again, if you watch the full video, it's amazing, right? Then of course they also had a Jules, which is basically a coding agent, and it'll fix your bugs. If you want to upgrade your software from version 1 to another, it will do that and it'll fix the bugs as well. So yeah, a lot of great updates. They also demoed Lyria, which is high fidelity music for professional artists. They also featured one of our artists from India, and in terms of how this thing is benefiting these artists. So amazing updates. Think they also updated their subscription plans, right? Google AI Pro $19.99 per month, and they also have AI Ultra, which comes with almost $250 per month, gives you 30 TB of storage. You got a YouTube Premium, you got a Project Mariner, which is agentic AI, will do the work for you, and a lot of other stuff, right? Markets was been telling that AI will eat Google's lunch, and Google like showed up so many enhancements or projects that they are working on using AI. So I think this was a surprise in a pleasant way for the market, and the stock got rewarded immediately. I think it was up, like after this announcement, it was up 6-7% before the overall weakness in the market took it on. So I don't think Google is dead yet, as many of the, I would say, investors or so-called YouTubers have called out to be, saying, this company going nowhere. They're coming back up. They do suffer from the typical innovator's dilemma, is where to push more traffic, on the AI side, which they haven't yet figured out how to monetize the search on AI, whereas, or keep it on the regular search, which is the cash cow for them. But users are pivoting from the regular search to more AI-enabled searches. So they have to jump through that innovator's dilemma and figure out the monetization aspect of your AI mode or AI searches. But I think they have shown that they are pretty serious about it. Right? So don't count them yet. That's all I would say. So, and I know Bill Ackman, he has some big position in Google. I also own, talked about it, Google earlier, one of the cheapest Mac 7. So we'll see what happens. But these are at a high level updates from Google. Some question, Dave. Soon lots of IT jobs are replaced by AI. It already is happening, right? It's not even in future. It already is happening. Regarding AI glasses, any remaining aspects of privacy is being shredded in real time. So I think there has to be some guardrails around AI and all of these AI devices, not just AI glasses. We had one of the biggest acquisitions, maybe the top acquisitions for this year. Sam Altman, OpenAI, they bought IO, which is a design company of Johnny Ive, for what, 6.2 billion or something like that. They don't even have a product yet. Basically, it's an acqui-hire, and they paid through OpenAI. It was an all-share, all-stock deal, no cash. But bromance brewing between Sam Altman and Johnny Ive. We'll see where that goes. Again, I think there is a new Wall Street Journal in that picked up or showed a picture of a device that they may be building, and then other media outlets picked it up, which is more like a pendant with a camera on it. Right? If very soon everyone is wearing these AI-enabled camera recording devices and pendants, forget about any privacy. Right? Maybe we all have to go behind wheels, or maybe wear burqa if you really want to maintain your privacy. But I guess there'll be some regulations maybe around it, that if you're recording, it has to explicitly blink or tell the other person that it is being recorded. You can't just secretly record it. But yeah, a lot of privacy concerns, but I don't think it's gonna slow down this pace of innovation. I don't get Microsoft Teams. I learned Skype in 2008. Now the Skype is dead. I just killed my Skype this year because I think Microsoft had decided that they're gonna deprecate Skype anyway. So you can't use Skype. Have you looked at Microsoft Build? No, I did not. I had a heading here, Microsoft Build, but I did not have a time to go through it and bring in the content. But I do have a plan that this week I need to go through what Microsoft shared in their Microsoft Build event. So I don't have that information yet. Okay. With AI, a 6-month project can be done overnight now. That is 100% true. I mean, I have benefited a lot from AI in terms of using AI to do the research, to generate content for our discussion, and also to do a lot of scripting work, just to make my own life easier. All right, so look at how the sector performance have been overall. Let's say on YTD industrial. So where's S&P? Now we're down 1.3%. Last week we were almost neck to neck. We were like where we started the year. Now we are going down a little bit. We'll see what happens, but not too much worried about it. Buys and sells this week, no buys. I did sell SPY. And the reason, if you recall, after the Liberation Day, when the market fell down, I came back and reported. And for those who are new or joining for the first time here, these are not the recommendations, but I want to be transparent about what stock I bought or sold, right? So that you are aware what I'm holding. Am I talking about the stock that I bought because it went up or not? If I have told you that I bought this stock, later on goes up, then hey, I told you that I bought up. So I want to be a little transparent. So these shares are assigned to me in 4th of April. And because the market was down after Liberation Day, my short puts got assigned. So I was basically on a margin interest from a cash perspective. I did want to raise that cash. So I sold off those shares, right? So, and I mean, that was turned out to be a pretty good deal because those got assigned at 570 and I sold it back at 590. And of course, the other option premium that I got was on top of it. So that was the only sell. I still have, I think, some QQQ, which I'm still holding, the ones that got assigned to me. I think I only sold half of it, which I reported. I think, was it last week or week prior to that? I still have another half of it. So that's on the buys and sells this week. No other major action from my side. Crypto side, big news was, okay, so let's go through the news first. Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. It had breached 110,000. I saw it reaching 112,000 at some particular point of a time on CoinGecko. I mean, because the market is open 24/7, you don't even know when to call that, like an end of a day closing price, right? Because there is no closing price for this. But I did see it at $112,000 some part of a time. Now it has come back. But I think this is a significant event that where the rest of the bond market, puked, and there was a concerns around the fiscal prudence of US government. Suddenly Bitcoin becomes safe haven, right? It's like so oxymoron to think that it acted as a safe haven for a day. This is with the riskiest one. And same thing with the gold. I mean, gold also went up after the drama from bond market. So was the Bitcoin. It had breached 112,000. Now I think I took a screenshot just before our meeting. Now it is 108 or 109. It's pretty near all-time highs. So other than that, everything else is okay. I think the biggest story, at least for this week, was just Bitcoin. Of course, the institutional adoption continues to accelerate. All the rally that we have seen over last 18 months, ever since we had the ETF coming in January 2024, has been all driven by institutions. Right? Retail has not yet participated in this. So 48, close to $50 billion in BlackRock IBIT, major buyers have been institutions. If we go and look for Bitcoin related search on Google, etc., you would see not much. Right? We are nowhere the frenzy that we saw in 2021. Those who have been attending since 2021, we talked about it, right? We're not seeing that frenzy from retail investors just yet. but it's mostly driven by institutions. There have been a couple of regulatory aspects. So, update on a Genius Act. We did have a vote, May 20th, we did have a 6632 vote on a Genius Act, which is more doing to stable coins, right? And immediately after this pass through, we saw a lot of regular banks, Bank of America, JP Morgan's, all coming say, we want a share in this business. Right? Wherever there's a money to be made, bankers will come in. So despite Jamie Dimon, shitting over a crypto economy for last 10 years, if there is a money to be made, JP Morgan will be there. So I saw a statement from Jamie Dimon like, I don't like cigarette smoking, I'm against it, but if you want to smoke, we'll sell you. Right? Of course, you'll make money. Now, I think the regulatory bodies are clearing the path for regular financial institutions to participate in it, and they will be there. So, lot more stuff to come. Right? We are still early in this game. What else? Yeah, these are the big ones on the crypto side. Any questions? Let me go through some of these comments. Dave, I got to send 100 shares of QQQ today. Hopefully market rebound, or you'll have to sell deep in the money covered call. That's a life. That's a life we have, right? I still have a short put, which I have a short calls, which I'm happy to hold those short calls. I have some deep in the money short calls, which provide me negative delta, which I'm happy to keep rolling it. So if market sells off, I'll be at least able to close the short calls at profit. But I'm happy to take loss on those calls. Is the market really 24/7? So I think Charles Schwab mentioned that they are moving to 24/7. So, but again, probably, yeah. So I think Alfred mentioned, right? 900 tickers are 23 hours a day. Right? Again, I hate this 24/7. Right? There has to be a point where you say, yeah, I'm off this. Let me go and live my life also. My worry would be the lack of liquidity in outside the normal trading hours. That if there is not enough liquidity, then you're not going to get right pricing. You'll just get ripped off. So I would stay away from it, until we have enough liquidity in those other hours. NVIDIA earnings, Biego AI China VC was better and often more precise, now cut off. Oh, okay. Some AI app, Manish have to drop. All right. NVIDIA earnings up or down? Back down to 110 or up to 150. Who knows? So we'll see. But I mean, Jensen Huang has been very vocal around all the sanctions that US have been putting across the world. But this week was a good one, right? So we had deals signed in UAE for thousands and tens of thousands of chips. We will be building huge data centers in UAE, which should bode well for these companies, NVIDIA, and on the overall semiconductor. So NVIDIA had some good week, right? Look at the beautiful jump in NVIDIA. We had with Trump touring Gulf states and getting deals for us, right? I think that was the last week. And NVIDIA is up from like $115 all the way to $135. What else do you need? I mean, of course, it is still at what's this drawdown right now? We're still at 14%. Oh no, yeah, this NVIDIA is still at 14% drawdown. But 135, not bad. How much percentage of a net worth do you invest in crypto market? So it's up to you, depending on your risk capability and what helps you to sleep well. It's a very, very volatile market. Less so volatile right now, but I would still expect that it could go down 50%, right? And it would be a normal stuff. I don't think 80% is feasible, but yeah, 40%, 50% possible. So you need to figure out what percent of a net worth you want to put in an asset in which 50% drawdown is normal. Those who are in crypto for longer duration have gone through much, much bigger drawdowns. And it could also go up 10 times from here. So based on that, you have to decide. I don't think there's a clear-cut answer for one answer that I can give. There are some OGs who are like 100% in it, but then they don't care. They can sleep well if the Bitcoin goes down to 60% or go down to 60K from 110K. But if I start to lose my sleep, then that's not for me. No central exchange for 24 hours, just limit to specific brokerage, so price discovery may not be too accurate. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was wondering, that you may not have enough of liquidity and no pricing, and hence not good price discovery. Okay, during the London session, we have a nice market to make money. We have like two markets you can cash in on stocks only. Look at monthly and quarterly chart. I don't know which chart you're referring to, Dave. So that was around the crypto side. What else we want to talk about? Maybe 15 minutes we'll spend in going through ARK 2025 report. Or do you want to talk about some individual stocks? Then we'll open up our breakout rooms, and then you guys can spread over and talk whatever you want to talk. You want to talk about daily charts, monthly charts, or some nice indicators? Go ahead. I see 3 votes for ARK report. All right, let's go through ARK report. I'll stop at 12 o'clock because the report is longer, right? May not be able to finish, and then we'll pick it up next week. All right, let's bring up Big Ideas 2025. Let me just bring it. So overall, it is one consistent theme that I've seen in Cathie Wood investing thesis is these 5 big platforms, which she and ARK Invest has bet on for these platforms will fuel the growth for decades to come, right? Public blockchains, right? And this includes everything: Bitcoin, smart contracts, DeFi, digital wallets, everything. AI, multiomics. She used to call it a genomics. And I think maybe over the last 1 year, the name has been changed to multiomics, which is also include your, gene splicing, your precision medicine, your like technologies like CRISPR, programmable biology, etc. Energy storage, right, which is advanced battery tech, EV, and then finally robotics, which will bring down the cost of manufacturing, 3D printing, humanoid robots, etc. So these are the 5 main areas, and now underneath each of them, you'll have a different technologies that basically, those innovative technologies that then impact the economy. So let me go on to the next one, which would be a technology inflection should lead to GDP inflection. So now talking about how each and every technology has led to GDP growth, right? When we started to have writing, right, we had a 0.037%, 0.14%, and now ARK forecast is looking at we probably will go at like 7.3% based on AI, autonomous mobility, and humanoid robot is going to turbocharge our productivity again, right? So while there will be jobs that will be lost because a lot of stuff can be done by AI or humanoid, overall productivity will gain. And I think the next generation will find some other gainful employment, and some of the jobs of current jobs will just disappear. Just like lamp lighters job have disappeared, candle maker job have disappeared, right? Uh, let's talk about AI agents. What do AI agents do? They understand the intent, then they plan, take action, and then they continue to improve. Again, I want to put one disclaimer around anything related to ARK. When you're reading any ARK report or thesis or their recommendations, focus on not on the numbers, but the reason behind the numbers. After seeing Cathie Wood for many years, the numbers are way off. Right? If I to believe those numbers, Zoom stock should be $5,000 by now. Tesla should be some $5,000 by now. So the numbers are just crazy numbers. Those are eye-grabbing numbers. To me, it looks like. So I'm not gonna pay much credence or a lot of faith on the numbers, but I want to see what's the thinking that's driving those numbers. Then you can tone it down, right? OpenAI could surpass $10 billion in revenue in 2025. I don't know what the OpenAI current revenue is, right? Is it possible? May or may not be, right? AI agents will transform consumer search and discovery. I think this is feasible, right? And based on the AI mode that we've seen from Google, and of course the Perplexity is there, and OpenAI have their will have their own agentic search in where you have a query, the agent will spawn different searches, multiple searches, and then curate the result and may even buy for you, right? So I can go and tell I want this specific shoe of this kind for this occasion. And because it has known, I've worked with this LLM for a few times, it knows I like white, kind of a shoe and all that stuff. It'll go and finish and buy it for me. So agentic buy. Now, what I don't want to put faith on is by 2030, could AI revenue be more than 54% of overall digital ad market? That I don't know. That in 5 years, AI meditated shopping could become half of the general shopping. That I don't know. But I am of opinion that yes, we will see these AI agents do end-to-end stuff. AI mediated shopping likely to approach 25% of addressable online sales. Take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, digital wallets are positioned for continued share gains. Yes, but could they account for 72% of all e-commerce transactions? In its definition of digital wallets, it may be possible because it includes a credit in the debit cards that you store in your Apple Pay. Outside of that, if you really look from the digital wallets, like if you have a stable coins or a PayPal, etc., then 72% seems to be too high. Digital wallets are consolidating financial services and e-commerce. Like we know, I would love to pay through I love paying through my Apple Pay. Right? Again, they're talking about digital wallet purchasing agent could become central to the shopping journey. Your AI agents would be able to buy it and finish the shopping. And this is where the stable coins also come into picture, because now you can settle it at instant rather than some of your card settlement, which happens, for the merchants, it happens 2 days or 3 days later. If you do ACH, that settles in 3 days. But if you're doing on a stable coin, that settles almost immediately, right? And that's why we will see these banks, etc., moving on to stable coins. In the enterprise, agents will increase productivity via software. I think this has already started to happen. A lot of these customer care calls are first being handled by the AI agent. And if the AI agent is not able to answer the specific queries, then it moves to the human agents. As AI cost decline should impact agent economics significantly. So labor cost will start to shift more from, instead of human labor, we'll start to add AI software And if you're using AI, you can do the same work much cheaper, and which should amount to a huge number of cost saving as per the chart on the left. AI is reshaping the software value chain. Take it what it is, but this will definitely happen. Microsoft is telling what 30% of their code is now being written by AI, right? So and sometimes I think that the software may not exist in the way or the shape or form in which we are currently using. Right? It might be just everything happening on a back end and just giving me an output because there are agents who are doing the stuff which I today do it, right? And just brings me the output. Right? It's sometimes a little scary to think how the things might change in, let's say, 10 years, 15 years. AI will supercharge the knowledge work. This seems to be the BS in terms of maybe the number of the sizes, but I don't think anyone debates that AI is already supercharging the work of knowledge workers. I mean, a lot of knowledge workers are actually getting scared that their jobs will be replaced, but they will definitely be replaced by someone else, some other human who is actually using AI. We are not there yet wherein AI can completely replace a human, but another human will replace the current workers, and that human will be using a lot of AI. So if we have to future proof, might as well get on board of this AI train and learn how to use these tools. We don't have we have no excuse anymore. It's like refusing to learn how to operate a computer, right? 30, 40 years ago. There's no way you can survive in this today's environment. Talking about the blockchain side, Bitcoin, let's skip this. We talked about it. The spot Bitcoin ETF was the most successful ETF launch. Right? You only get to know when you compare it with the second most successful ETF launch in the history of ETFs, which was a gold ETF. Then in terms of the number of the billions of dollars, that's asset under management. It took gold 86 months, almost 7.5 years, or 7.25 years to get same asset under management, which I think all the Bitcoin ETFs got in a year. So that tells you that is not just successful, it is damn highly smashing success in terms of AUM. Nothing much. This talks about general halving and how the Bitcoin supply is gonna stabilize. So basically, instead of us debating about what the monetary policy is, oh yeah, what the interesting stuff was, there's 7 lines of code that controls the monetary policy of this whole ecosystem, which is now what, $2.5 trillion. What is the overall Bitcoin's market cap? $2.16 trillion. 7 line of a code controls that. Right? This is important. Annualized volatility. Right? It is considered to be highly volatile. Annualized volatility actually has been coming down. I mean, still 50% is huge. That's what I tell you, right? 50% up or down happens, but we've been through much more volatile scenarios when it comes to this asset class. So when it's like 50%, well, that's cool. That's like a walk in the park. And I think this is a chart around the returns and the Sharpe ratio, Sortino ratio, and 5-year CAGR. No doubt, on all the parameters, looks to be great, risk adjusted. Despite having steep decline in miner revenue, after having hash rate is still all-time high, so which is good for network security. The transaction counts has soared thanks to runes. I'm not sure what runes are. Has anyone looked into what runes is? I think it's more related to the NFTs or stuff like that. I don't know how much of economic value does it generate. It does generate a lot of transactions, but it's just like some of Degen's moving tokens back and forth. So I will discount this slide. It absorbed major selling pressure in 2024, which is true. We did have some selling pressure, but then now it's back up. The selling pressure came from Mt. Gox when it started to distribute the basically the bitcoins to the holders. So there was selling pressure from them. German government had sold some 50,000 bitcoins. It absorbed that as well. So the liquidity is deep in this market. Increasing number of public companies now holding Bitcoin. If you want the details, bitcointreasuries.net is a web page that maintains a good database of all the governments, public market companies, and some private market companies who have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And this number has just been steadily increasing. Aggregate cost basis hit a new high in 2024. We talked about transaction volatility, which is coming down. And this is one. Supply last active 3+ years ago. This actually tells you the HODL behavior. It means almost half of the Bitcoins haven't moved in last 3 years. Look at the end. Last 3 years, like what we had 60K, and then we went down to 30. I think some part of a time, were we not 15K in the last 3 years? Or maybe I was thinking, but anyway, 30K. Now we're back to 110K. This is just hodling. Like almost half of the coins haven't moved. And of course, the big one will be MicroStrategy. They've been just buying it, never sold it, Ecuador, etc. But still, half of the supply, I mean, it has become 4x. And half of the supply is not taking gains. Right? Bitcoin is on pace to meet our 2030 target. Bull case is 1.5 million. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to focus on the price numbers, but I think the overall idea is that this has become a real asset class, and a lot more is yet to come in this. Then they talk about, okay, so we hit a 12 mark. I'll stop here. I think we are 1/3 of this report. We'll continue on this report next week on the stable coins and all this stuff. Let's address some questions, and we get into the breakout rooms to discuss what else you might have in your mind. What AI mutual funds do you hold? Nil. 0. Are you the Cathie Woods in PLT? You had so much confidence PLTR when it was in 20s. Yes. I mean, that was a good price. I mean, I had more confidence when it was $6, $7. But I still have a confidence in Palantir business. I just don't like the pricing at which it is being sold right now. There's a difference between price and the value of the business, right? So I am, yeah. So if you recall last week I mentioned, my Palantir shares got sold off. I'll be happy to have them sell off. I like the business, but I don't like the current price. NYU finance class, I think that's over, that finished. I think I missed like the last 2 sessions. I'll have to go and see the recording. But the whole idea was it does give you framework in terms of change your thinking when you're thinking about companies and valuations and all that stuff, right? I don't need a certificate, so I can go back and watch the recording whenever I want to. I didn't have to appear for a test. I wasn't doing it for the grade, but I was just doing it because I wanted to learn that stuff. And I think it was a good learning. So I do plan to attend the corporate finance class because it gives some insight into how the leadership or the CFO should think about corporate finance. I'm more interested in terms of returning the capital to shareholders. How do you make a decision between the different corporate? You have different avenues to allocate capital. What drive decision one over another? How do you identify if the company management is doing good? I'm a shareholder, from a from your allocation perspective or not. What tools do you use to compare a portfolio? I mean, I look at my performance, and then you can Google how the S&P 500 has done year over year. I don't have any other specific tools. All right, so it looks like I addressed all the questions. Let's open up the breakout rooms, and you are free to go in whichever room you please to, or hang around in the lobby. I'll stay in the lobby. And but if you're a swing trader, day trader, whatever, we have multiple rooms. Go ahead, have fun. I might come and say hello to you in some of those rooms. But all up to you. I'm done talking. I talked enough.